Summer is winding down for students. I'm sorry. So from clothes to supplies, there's a lot to do to help them have a successful school year. One of the ways to do that is just to make sure your student is up to date on vaccinations. So joining us right now is Dr. Olukemi Akinrinola with AdventHealth. Thank you so much for joining us. First off, Doctor, we appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we're talking vaccinations today. It is Immunization Awareness Month. There's lots of required vaccines for students. Can you go over the most important vaccines for elementary, middle, and high school students?
Right, so for child care centers that take care of the kids when they're younger, they have a different requirement compared to the elementary. So they should have hepatitis B vaccine. They should have the DTaP, the diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis. We want them to have the inactivated polio, pneumococcal, Haemophilus type B, Haemophilus influenza, measles, and chickenpox.
Yeah.
But then when they're going to the elementary school, they need a double dose. They need a second dose of the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, which is the MMR, as well as the DTaP and polio. So they get a second dose as like a booster for elementary school. Now they're going to 6th grade, they need a Tdap in addition to that. And there, if you have all those vaccines, you're ready.
And we've talked about the importance of getting the measles vaccine, especially nowadays, right? How can parents, keep track of all these vaccines requirements?
I would recommend that you call your provider, your pediatrician. So many of the kids get their vaccines from when they're babies. So you have them 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 15 and 18. And so it's very difficult for parents to remember what they got at that time. But vaccines are always recorded, both at the doctor's office where you got them, and then there's a statewide, directory. So you can always request that from your doctor to have what you've had, to get the history of the vaccines. So you're not, having this questions of, am I getting a second one when I don't need one? So always call, and when in doubt, you can also request from the schools. The school systems are also linked to the Colorado directory, and we can see that. So, and I know that the schools are reminding the parents when it's about time for school, just to make sure so they can go back to their doctors and see what do we need at this point, update them before school starts.
So important to have that record. If parents can't afford or does not have a regular doctor, what do they do then?
Well, there are many places in Colorado, for instance, where there are provisions for vaccines for people without either insurance, low cost, no cost. One of it is the VFC. It's called Vaccination for Children. It's a program. And there are about 600 locations in Colorado that participate in that. So you can go to that. One of them, just call ahead. You can go to the public health. So the Colorado Public Health, they have some county and community health centers where even if you don't have insurance or you cannot afford, there is the no cost or low cost, provision for vaccines. We have the TOTS for teens. There are some clinics that are just for vaccines where you can walk in and get the vaccines. You have some health departments that may be travel health departments. So there are lots of other places where, and I believe that if you just want to be sure, you can look at the website, the Colorado Public Health website.
I do want to get to this last question really quickly. It's important because, the vaccine rates are down. So what can we say to parents who are hesitant or unsure about these vaccines? And we've seen decline since the pandemic you talked about.
Yes, I mean, asking questions is one of the good things about parenting, because working with parents, I see them. I believe parents want to do the best things for their kids. And sometimes when you're hearing all sorts of conflicting things, you want to be sure. So yes, it's okay to, you may have those questions, but make sure you're talking to a trusted, medical professional. And we know for sure that vaccines are the safest, most effective way of preventing these diseases that are life-threatening for the kids. And when we vaccinate our children, we not only vaccinate them, we protect them from those problems, but we teach their immune system to be able to fight when they see those germs. We also, it contributes to the herd immunity, we also protect older people that cannot be vaccinated, newborns that cannot be vaccinated. So I say you can ask questions. It's part of being a good parent. But make sure you're asking the right questions. Make sure you're talking to your trusted medical professional.
And that is the key right there. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate it. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here.
That's right. That's right. And the students head back to class next month. Aurora and Adams 14 begin on August 6th, by the way. And look for continuing coverage right here on CBS News Colorado. And watch all of our back-to-school stories at cbscolorado.com.